Okay, so there are a few important things that we'll have to clarify considering the wattage of the RTX 4000 mobile series that you might want to know or need to know when deciding which laptop you should buy. And before we start, just a quick introduction into the topic to make sure everybody is on board. If you're familiar with the NVIDIA mobile GPU wattage situation, you can jump to the next chapter using the timeline. So the thing is that with the RTX 3000 series, NVIDIA started to provide their mobile GPUs with vastly different wattages, meaning you can get an RTX 3050 with 35 watt or with up to 80 watt, and some wattages in between. And each of these mobile GPUs will perform differently. But most customers aren't aware of this, as the manufacturer doesn't have to advertise this in an easily noticeable way. So if you're buying a laptop with a low 35 watt RTX 4070, for example, an older RTX 3060 laptop with a 140 watt TDP could actually perform a lot better. Up until the RTX 2000 series, there have been only two versions of NVIDIA's mobile chips, the regular version and the so-called Max-Q models, which have been the low-powered versions of these GPUs. Now, still most uninformed customers probably didn't even know about that, since the word Max-Q doesn't explain anything. If at all, it sounds like it's even faster and not slower. In my opinion, something like the RTX 2060 Lite or RTX 2070 Eco would have made more sense. So, as a result, many users probably bought a low-powered version of these mobile GPUs and wondered why it didn't perform as expected. And that's uncool. And now back to the topic. It turns out that the mobile versions of the RTX 4050, 4060 and 4070 are limited to a maximum wattage of around 85 to 100 watt in most laptops, no matter how much wattage NVIDIA or the laptop manufacturer claim the GPU is allowed to use. That means that for these mobile GPUs it doesn't make much sense to get a version above these 85 or 90 watt right now, as they won't really perform any better. Depending on the laptop and the game we're talking about, a difference of 1 to 3%, which actually is within the margin of error, or it could be due to other limiting factors like the used CPU, RAM speed, or the mainboard the manufacturer uses in the laptop. By the way, the RTX 4080 and 4090 mobile GPUs don't seem to be affected by this. Okay, so after testing some RTX 4050 and 4060 laptops, I got curious and did some research, in which I stumbled on this very interesting article by Andreas Osthoff from notebookcheck.com, in which he explains and confirms this suspicion. I will link to the article in the description and you should definitely check it out. So props to Andreas. In this article he is using a quote by the German laptop manufacturer Schenker/XMG, which says: "However, according to the NVIDIA specifications, the actual GPU power consumption depends on the type of workload. Therefore, the power consumption may be below and sometimes significantly lower than the specified TGP and dynamic boost power draw values and is defined by NVIDIA. So, especially in games, the wattage is often significantly lower than what the GPU could draw. Now, it's unclear what is really causing this, but a voltage cap and a high efficiency are being suspected by the internet as of now, and some say that these smaller chips don't scale well with high power anyways. I'm not sure if this could or will ever be fixed by driver or BIOS updates after all. I wouldn't count on it as of now, to be honest." Andreas Osthoff further explains that for the RTX 4070 he witnessed power drawings of 140 watt in synthetic benchmarks like Furmark and 115 watt in 3DMark's Speedway benchmark with activated ray tracing. But in games it would not go above 105 watt even in 4K and with activated ray tracing. And the FPS aren't affected after reaching 90 to 100 watt anyway. That also applies to games, and you can see that in these two tables he added to the article. And I can confirm the exact same behavior for the 140 watt version of the RTX 4050, which I'm currently testing in this very Asus TUF A15, by the way. Overall, I have to say that all of this is super confusing for everybody. It's just unsatisfying for the customer to not know what to expect. But I hope that watching this video helped a bit in understanding what's going on. If it did, please like the video, thanks a lot. I guess that in the end it doesn't matter that the 4050, 4060 or 4070 won't use the full wattage if they perform the way they're supposed to perform and reach their boost clocks. After all, saving energy is a good thing, especially in these days, but It would be nice to know upfront, and Nvidia should absolutely change their policy concerning the description of their mobile GPUs and put the wattage into the naming or something like that. By the way, the benchmarks clearly state that the RTX 4060 and 4070 are actually a bit disappointing in terms of performance when being compared to their RTX 3000 series predecessors, whereas the RTX 4050, in my opinion, turns out to be a really powerful mobile GPU this year, which is clearly a great improvement over the RTX 3050. Not only thanks to the bigger 6GB of VRAM, which finally allows you to use even high or even ultra settings on newer games with this entry-level mobile GPU. PS, before we are done today, I've also tested the RTX 4050 105W and 140W versions with Blender, and even in that case, you can actually see no difference except for like 1 or 2 seconds, which is actually within the margin of error. Interestingly, the wattage usage while rendering is only around 60 to 65 watt and might be purely limited by the number of CUDA cores the GPU has to offer. Okay, now that's all for today. If you're interested in more benchmarks and laptop reviews, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video. I will also compare the desktop 4050 to the laptop version once it's available. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye bye and tschüss.